Hello, everyone. My name is Manolis Spinarolakis, the founder of Reality Crowd TV, and welcome to Patch of Land's Real Estate Crowdfunding Webinar Series, Episode 4. We have a great show for you all this evening, and thank you so much for joining us. Before I actually introduce our guests and the topic of tonight's webinar, I'd like to give the audience a few ways that you can engage with this webinar presentation. If you're watching from Google Hangouts on Air, you'll be able to actually submit any questions that you might have using our question and answers application. If you're watching within the Virtual Incubator and Crowdfunding Network, we have a chat room that we will be taking questions in later on in this presentation. And of course, you can always email Patch of Land at info@patchofland.com for any questions that we cannot answer during the presentation. So tonight's webinar is going to be very educational, and the topic, of course, will be real estate crowdfunding. And I'd like to introduce our guests for this evening. Our first guest is a returning champion, Douglas Cochran, the SVP of Acquisitions and Underwriting at Patch of Land. And Douglas, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, Manolis. Thanks again for having me back. Again, my name is Doug Cochran. I'm Senior VP of Acquisitions and Underwriting at Patch of Land. We're a debt-based real estate crowdfunding company. And a little bit about my background is I've been in real estate for about 20 years. I started off as a flipper up in the Boston market, and then got into appraising. I was a licensed appraiser for a number of years, specializing in the downtown Boston area. And then I was a loan officer for many years, underwriter, and most recently a project manager for a construction company where we did ground-up construction on a 24-unit building, residential building in South Boston, and a 14-unit condo building. And then joined Patch of Land last year, about a year ago.
Great, Doug. Thank you very much for joining us and for that wonderful introduction. And we have a very special guest today. We have James Evans, the president of Evans Engineering and Design, and also a real estate investor who has successfully funded a deal through Patch of Land. And James, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, Manolis. Thanks for having me on with you tonight. My name is James Evans. I'm president of Evans Engineering and Design. My background is civil engineering. I've been practicing civil engineering for about 20 years. And I also have 2 contractor's licenses. And this is my first deal with Patch of Land that we funded. And can't say anything else, I guess.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I believe your deal that you funded with Patch of Land is in Miami. So are you joining us from Miami this evening?
Actually, it's in the Florida Keys. The property is located in the Florida Keys. Yeah, I'm on site right now at the property.
Great. So you know that this is evidence that you're hard at work getting the property rehab. So this is great.
Yes, 7 days a week. Yep, 12 hours a day. I live and sleep here. Yep.
That's excellent. Well, great. Thank you for taking time out tonight. To join us this evening. And so many of our viewers and many of our new viewers, there was some very exciting news to come out within the last week and a half or so. Patch of Land actually announced a major capital raise for their own company to fund the existing operations and expand into new markets. And Doug, I believe there was also some interesting announcements on potentially new loan expansion programs and new funding options. So I'd like to kind of just have you just talk about what happened with the announcement and maybe what are some new things coming down the pike for real estate developers and their funding needs through Patch of Land.
Sure. Well, we're very excited here at Patch of Land. We just, as you said, we just had a capital raise of $23.5 million, which is going to help us expand, as you said, into other markets around the country, and also be able to obviously have more money for our borrowers around the country. But also something that's exciting to me and something that I'm working on is expanding our product line. We are going to be looking in the very near future. We're going to be doing more commercial loans, debt-based. We've built a support team for that. So commercial deals, if you have them, bring them. We can certainly do them now. And we're excited to announce that. Also, we're going to be in the very near future. We're going to be offering some buy and hold type programs for holding onto your properties for longer term, 2, 3, 5 year type fixed programs. So a lot of our borrowers, they do a lot of flipping. They reposition property, and some of them now they want to be holding on to property for the long term and wait for the appreciation in their markets. And we've recognized that. We've heard our borrowers, and we're going to be announcing that very soon, that we will in fact be able to offer these more long-term products for our borrowers. So good things coming down the pipeline here at Patch of Land, and of course for our borrowers out there.
Great, Doug. I mean, congratulations to you and the team for putting all this together. I've been working with you guys since June of last year, and I've seen how much you've grown and the amazing deals that you've been able to fund for developers just like James. And so it's just wonderful to see that the good people are actually winning. So this is good.
Thanks. We like to think we're good people.
Absolutely. And so with that said, too, there's actually a nice new video as well that Patch of Land released, and so this will give us really a good primer on what real estate crowdfunding is, especially using the Patch of Land platform. And then after the short video that we'll show you, we'll then dive into learn more about James. So let me actually share my screen, and we will be able to share.
How do we take something that is traditionally very, very hyper-local and translate that into a national marketplace, or even an international marketplace, and make it completely transparent online? We fund experienced real estate developers and investors all across the country to make really great projects happen. And we use the new industry of crowdfunding and peer-to-peer lending to actually make that happen. We had the choice very early on to go after both equity investments or debt investments, and we chose to go with what we consider to be the largest market, the most lucrative market, the most secure market, and quite simply the easiest market to bridge between the old world of traditional financing and this new online crowdfunding e-commerce world, and that's debt. So we're actually building the ability to compress our underwriting through a really, really strong algorithmic understanding of our underlying assets. We're able to pull hundreds of data points on each individual property, about 95% of all properties across the United States, and bring those projects into an online e-commerce system and make it available to just about everybody.
The technology is necessary because we live in a world where these sorts of loans are needing to be closed in the same day. These projects are rehab projects which are leaving the market in no time, and we can have a loan application pre-scored and due diligence information collected before one human on our team even sees the application. And then as it's processed through our originations and underwriting, it receives better, more accurate, and more qualitative due diligence information. 100% of the modules we built on top of these open source frameworks are wholly owned intellectual property by us. They do things like reserve investments and allow developers to place submissions for their own projects. All of the back-end loan servicing and origination and underwriting engine is ours and is built on some of the same open source frameworks.
Really, the world of crowdfunding or peer-to-peer is the 21st century terminology for what was previously loan syndication or just syndication as a whole. Crowdfunding and peer-to-peer lending will continue to evolve and grow over the next 5 to 10 years. The projections are quite astounding, and we're glad to be a part of it, and we got in there early on. I didn't want to wait around and watch this new opportunity pass me by. That's why I decided to partner with two guys who were already in the field and needed some help and some guidance from a chairman perspective, such as myself, that has the real estate knowledge and the technology knowledge and some financial ability to be able to help them grow.
It's been incredible to see it grow like wildfire when we move into an area and work gets done and we have people calling or saying, hey, I drove by and I saw that on your website, or I live in the neighborhood and that's really awesome. I want to be able to invest in people that I believe are doing a good job. Basically, a group of very passionate, like-minded individuals who want to see a very conservative legal industry being pushed forward. We'd like to see the increasing adoption of technology. We'd like to see more efficiencies in the system. So Patch of Land is a 506c company. That's how we differentiate ourselves from some of the other crowdfunding companies out there. What that essentially means is we are allowed to generally solicit, even though it's still private placement, but we still are governed by all federal and state securities laws.
It's a new phase in real estate. We're something new, bringing real estate developers together with people who want to invest in their projects and believe in their projects. That's what real estate crowdfunding is, like giving an avenue to these real estate developers who have good projects and good ideas and have no other place to go. Our investors know what to expect. That's why we get a lot of repeat business. They know and trust us. They know our due diligence is good and we're transparent, and we're always available for questions.
So I think crowdfunding in the future is going to be the way that people borrow from other individuals versus dealing with the banks. I think today we fit a very unique niche in terms of how hard money becomes more transparent in the market. To me, this is going to be the future of how lending is going to be done, and I like the team as well as the opportunity to grow communities through crowdfunding.
Wow. Thank you all for bearing with us during that video, but I think it was very well put together and worth kind of getting that high-level overview. And I just got to say kudos to Marco Rivera and the marketing team for putting that together. It was a very masterfully done video. So thank you guys for that video. And so now I'd like to actually switch gears and hear a little bit about James, because it's the developers that Patch of Land really serves, as well as the investors after the fact, but it all starts with the real estate developer and the deal that he actually has to get funded. And so, James, before we get into your deal, which will happen later in the broadcast, tell us how you got into real estate. Give us a little bit more of a deep background. Tell us about how you kind of got into this whole amazing movement.
Okay. Well, my background in real estate has pretty much been, last 20 years has been designing as a civil engineer and designing projects and permitting the projects. And just recently, back in 1997, I got 2 contractor's licenses, and that's when I actually stopped doing so much designing and got into the field and going, out in the field and starting to I opened my own business, Evans Engineering and Design Build Services, and started going out in the field myself and getting my hands dirty, in the field, and actually building these projects instead of sitting, in the office and designing them. So it was a big change for me from being in the office, getting out in the field and actually, building the projects hands-on. And I right now hold one long-term property I've had since 2005. My goal is to hold several single-family residential homes for long-term holdings and for long-term wealth and retirement. That's my goal. And this is my first deal with Patch of Land. And their superior team with superior knowledge, and I couldn't ask for a better team to see this project through.
That's excellent. And so you know, the long-term goal that you hold is how a lot of people have lived the American dream. I mean, real estate is one of the largest creators of wealth in the world. It's a tangible object. It's there. It has utility. And so, I mean, the goal that you have is likely a goal that many of our viewers also have. And so, aside from the buy and hold, have you done a number of different buy, fix, and resell properties as well?
Not really. Not rehab. Just pretty much buying and you know, holding them. That's the goal. You know, in Evans Engineering, we do a lot of, you know, site work and structures, you know, and sort of, you know, but we don't do the flipping, you know, the rehab flipping, anything like that. You know, our goal is to try and gain properties and have little to no debt in the property, and have, you know, as low a mortgage note as possible, so you can, you know, increase your profit margin down the road, you know, as you pay off the loan. So that's more our goal. We're not into the flipping the properties and the real estate, and, you know, we're more into, you know, we would like to get into, you know, building many homes, you know, and holding them long term. So
very interesting.
Cool.
And that's something actually that, if I can jump in there for a sec, one of the things that really appealed to us about James and his background and the actual project that we're working with him on, is his background as a civil engineer. You know, he has gotten his hands dirty. He knows how to build, and the fact that he's in this for the long term. He's not just in for, you know, quick hit and runs and in it for the short term. He's looking at this as a long-term project for him. This is a project, this particular project he's going to buy, hold, rent out, and, you know, it's a beautiful place. I'm sure, you know, he'll retire there. I would if I was him. So that was part of what really appealed to us about James and this particular project, was his background, particularly in building. This was a project that came to us that was, it's the closest thing we've had to a ground-up construction deal. He'd already bought the land. He already had it permitted. He had cleared the land. He already had his pilings up, and his first floor deck was already in place. It was all cement, 17 feet above sea level, I believe.
Yes.
And you know, this was a guy who knows what he's doing and knows how to build a project. You know, he had committed that he was going to be on site. He'd be doing most, you know, overseeing all the work, doing a lot of it himself. You know, he came well prepared and you know, with his background. So it was, you know, a bit of a passion project for him. We could feel the passion in him, and you know, that's why we wanted to back him up and support him and help him out with that dream. And, you know, we're looking forward to this. You know, he's at the closing. He's right at the finish line with this project, which we're really excited about for him. And you know, we'll be sitting and waiting for the next project when this is done. So he's been one of our star borrowers. I got to say, he bombards us with texts in a good way, with updated pictures. With myself and Carlo, our chairman, keeping us up to date when he has a major, you know, thing that's been accomplished: the roof, the siding, the windows in, the floors. The place is absolutely gorgeous. He's really done a great job. You know, he's a model borrower, you know, in my opinion. He's been great. So I'm glad he's joining us tonight to kind of share his experience with us.
Yes, I'm glad you guys having me here.
Great, and you know, and so that's interesting, you know, and I shouldn't have assumed that you were a fix and flipper, because, you know, just because patch of land has short-term loans on this particular property, if you do want to be a buy and hold investor, buy, redevelop, and hold, there are ways to have the exit strategy be different instead of having to sell. So your strategy, James, how are you planning to exit out of the loan once it comes due, or once you're ready for it? What is your strategy on that?
The loan is going to come due in probably about 2 months, actually, and then as soon as we're done, we get our certificate of occupancy, we will refi in a conventional 30-year loan.
Excellent. Okay.
So the whole goal is, to issue as little debt as possible, and on the property, and get it done as quick as possible, and get out and get into a good, conventional 30-year amortized mortgage, and go on to the next one. Because that is, to me, is financial security for the rest of me and my wife's life. Is these properties. It's really helped us having the money there, every month. So it's a new venture we're getting into. So hopefully it works out for us, I guess.
Absolutely. And so see, that's a great realization I just had myself. The exit strategy not only can be resell, but it could be refinance out of the patch of land loan, so that you can get the loan to redevelop from patch of land, and then 12 months later refinance out once the certificate of occupancy is in place. So very, very good. I mean, congratulations, James, on all your success you've had thus far.
Thank you. It's been a real challenge here in the Florida Keys with the lack of there's no market here. There's no labor force here, so it's been a real challenge. Pretty much, I've done everything almost all myself, and I didn't expect to be doing it. But you got to do what you got to do to get it done. So.
Absolutely, and you also have to watch out for alligators as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, not to the 95-degree heat every day. It's really dry out here. I'm sure not as dry as where Doug is, though.
Yeah, we're pretty dry here in Cal. But yeah, we could use a little bit of rain. I wouldn't mind a little bit of rain. Not too much though.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, I don't have sympathy for you, because Connecticut, Boston, New York area had the worst winter ever. So I don't have any sympathy for you guys at this time.
I lived in Boston for 25 years. I moved out here for patch of land, so I feel like I dodged a little bit of a bullet this winter, missing the 9+ feet of snow.
Yeah, I'm actually from Canada, so I'm way up north, and near Hudson Bay. North Bay is my hometown, so I know what it's like, to be cold. That's why I moved to Florida, because I just couldn't handle it anymore. It's just too cold there, too much snow.
Absolutely, and it'd probably be better for real estate anyways, being in a warmer climate.
Yeah.
So for the audience as well, the video explained a little bit about, actually a lot about how the real estate crowdfunding process works. Just to give a primer, the majority of people, of course, know crowdfunding from Kickstarter and Indiegogo, which is the donation in exchange for reward model. What Patch of Land is doing with real estate crowdfunding is it is debt-based. So the investors are actually contributing capital, and their reward is actually return on that investment in the form of an interest rate on the debt that they just loaned the actual developer of the project. And so the reason why this is possible, Amy Wan, the general counsel of Patch of Land, actually eloquently put it. They're using a new regulation called 506C, which is part of a law that was passed in 2012. The 2012 Jobs Act was why equity and debt-based crowdfunding is possible. And so they're using the ability to generally solicit to accredited investors in order to actually receive those debt-based investments in the projects that they're actually promoting out to the crowd. But what's interesting is Patch of Land also pioneered what is known as pre-funding. And so developers don't need to wait for the investors to fund their projects. Patch of Land actually does a separate closing first with the developers, and then they go out and receive the funds from the crowd. And so, Doug, would you like to kind of talk about how that process works and kind of explain what the pre-funding process is like and why it became part of Patchaland's operations?
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, in most crowdfunding, typically what happens is you get your deal approved, and then you put it out to the crowd for the crowd to fund the deal, and then you go ahead and close your loan and things like that. And what we do at Patch of Land is we do a pre-funding, and as you said, Manolis, we're the ones who started it. And so what we do is we originate the loans, we underwrite them in-house, we get them approved, and then we come to the closing table with the money up front. After the closing, borrower goes, gets his property, starts working on the property, then we put it up on our website and we open it up for our crowd to fund it. It does a couple things. One, it gets the borrower closed faster and get to work faster, thereby being able to finish the project quicker. It shows our investors that we're willing to put our own skin in the game. Which I think is important. It's a sign of confidence that if we're willing to put our own money up for this borrower in this deal, then it gives them a lot of confidence that, hey, this is a good deal. And we are very transparent in the whole process. We on our website, as you'll see later, we show everything. We're very transparent. We talk about the whole deal, how it's structured, the yield on it, what the borrower plans to do with the project, the rehab budget, the appraisal, everything's up there, so that our investors can then really get a good sense of, is this the kind of project I want to invest in? And of course I get questions all the time from our investors that they might have, so we're always available for answering questions. And it's also a good thing for our investors to get to know our borrowers as well, because a lot of our borrowers, they're repeat borrowers. They come back to us with multiple deals, and when our investors get to know them just by how well they worked their deal the last time, they're ready to jump in on their deal the next time around. That's kind of a long-winded story, I suppose, on what we do and how we do it. But that's our process here, and that's the biggest benefit of pre-funding, is that we come to the table with our own skin in the game, and we've done all our due diligence and our underwriting. We're confident that this is a successful borrower with a successful project, and it gets them closed and getting to work as quickly as possible.
Excellent. That is.
And if I can even say, our typical deals close in about 10 days, 10 business days. We have done them faster, and that's because of the pre-funding deal, that we can get people to the table as quickly as needed, and then we backfill it with our investors and open up to our investors later. So, and by then, the borrowers have the money, they're getting to work. So. It's a good thing.
Absolutely, and I mean that was one of the innovations that took the traditional way of hard money and incorporated it into crowdfunding. So by taking the old and mixing it with the new, you guys really had a jump start on that as an innovation. So kudos for you on that. And so as of late, and another big announcement happened actually 3 weeks ago, or approximately a month ago, with the passage of another provision of the Jobs Act, which is Regulation A+. And so as of the current date, Patch of Land has been able to receive investments from accredited investors, meaning those individuals who make $200,000 a year or are worth $1 million in net worth, excluding the value of their personal home. But now that the passage of Regulation A+ has occurred, it is potentially opening the door for unaccredited investors to come in and be able to invest in these real estate deals. I want to say a caveat, even though the investors are the only people who are allowed to invest right now in Patch of Land deals, any borrower, regardless of their personal income or station in life can still bring a deal to get funded. The differentiation is that if you want to invest in someone else's deal, you have to meet that wealth qualification, but you don't have to be wealthy to actually raise capital on Patch of Land's platform. But Doug, I know it's early. We have about 2 months until this becomes a final regulation. But does Patch of Land, are they considering what could possibly be done to bring in the unaccredited investor crowd to be able to invest in these deals?
We have. We have started to do our due diligence and our research on that. And I know our legal team, our general counsel, Amy, is the lead on that, and she's doing all of her due diligence with that so that, in the very near future we'll be able to open it up to more people. To be able to, gain benefit by being able to invest in some of these great projects.
Very cool. I mean, because I know I cannot wait until I can invest in a mini, REIT or take part in a massive syndication. So it's going to be an interesting time period to see that happen.
Yeah, it will be.
Great. And so, James, I'm going to share my screen now so that we can look at your particular deal in the Florida Keys. And
Okay.
So as I pull it up, maybe you can just give us some background on this property. How did you come across the opportunity, and then kind of go into kind of the deal terms and why this is a good investment.
Okay. Actually, the idea of it was my wife's. We came to the Florida Keys on our honeymoon, and I started looking at land down here, and she thought it would be a good investment, and I also agreed with her because the Florida Keys is a really sought-after place to stay. You really can't find places to stay down here at all. There's a lack of available housing at all. And it's really expensive to stay here, so we thought it'd be the perfect place to build a vacation home and rent it out and be able to retire here in the future if we decided to. And so pretty much we chose the Florida Keys because it's it's just you can't lose here. I mean, rentals here. I mean, if you could find a place to stay for a week for $1,000, you'd be lucky, So, it's, just a really good idea of hers, I guess. I should thank her.
Exactly. I mean, and that's amazing. And so she ended up finding this opportunity, and I was just looking at the actual headline here. 11% interest rate. You're seeking $140,000 and 28% ARV, which is the after repair value. Can you kind of educate our audience on what after repair value represents and why that is an amazingly low ARV, which is good for the investors?
That's the after the fact. We get the CO, and the house is completely finished. The structure's done. Exterior, interior, and landscaping is done, and I think the appraiser appraised the house between, it was, I recall, $500,000 and $574,000, and we took a loan from Patch of Land for $140,000 to complete the project, and pretty much we didn't borrow a lot because I didn't want to issue a lot of debt on the property because it makes no sense to have a huge debt and a huge mortgage note, on an investment property that you're trying to make money off of. So that's been the whole struggle with the whole property, trying to make every dollar stretch as far as we can. And but at the end of the project, there'll be, surplus equity in the property, a lot of it, which I won't use because that would defeat the purpose of the monthly profit margin. So
great.
And that's methodology.
Great. And Doug, from your perspective, and I believe you were part of the company for this deal as well. From your perspective, what made this an attractive, an attractive property from your due diligence?
Well, there were a number of things, and one of them, a big thing, was the appraisal. I mean, James had bought the property, the land. He used his own funds. I think he bought the land for about 40 grand, I believe. It was a double-sized lot, and he'd already put about, I think, about 60 grand into it just for the, clearing the land, getting the permits, getting the pilings done, and the first floor deck. So he had, invested his own, time and money and sweat into the deal already. And the fact that he was he wasn't asking for a whole lot of money, considering the size of the job. I mean, it was it's about a 3,400 square foot home.
The building footprints with the porch, it's 4,800 square feet.
Yeah, so I mean, big house, and he really needed the 140 to build most of it, really. And it has an open floor plan, and so for us, it had a low ARV of 28 ARV, made it extremely attractive to us. The fact that his background in construction, was a huge plus for us. So there was very little risk on our part on this. And he had done his homework on the project. The project itself, I think, it's in the Florida Keys, and some of the concerns I'll say with our investors was hurricanes and flooding and things like that. But he was in a floodplain that the 100-year floodplain, I think, was up 9 feet. He had put the pilings up 17 feet. So it would take at the last it would take quite a flood to get that house to float. So he'd really done his due diligence and his homework on the property itself, and as he said, rentals in the Florida Keys are expensive, and they are desirable. I mean, it's a beautiful area. It's about midway out on the Keys, and the values of the properties there. They're not building. There's not a whole lot of land out there to build on. So we just saw that he had a great project, and he had committed over 100,000 into the deal already. So. Like I said, there was just a lot of pluses to it, and his passion to get this project up and running. It wasn't hard. It wasn't a hard decision to make on his part. We were going into a little bit of newer territory for us. That was almost ground up construction, but there were too many pluses to ignore on this project, and I'm glad we did, because again, let's go back to that pre-funding for a moment. We had ultimate confidence in James and this project, and we put our skin in the game. We funded his deal. We put it up on our site, and it took a little while for it to fill up. Most of our projects fill up within, say, 24 hours. His took, I think, about a week. And I think people were a little hesitant because of the hurricanes and flooding potentials, and it was new, pretty much new construction and what ifs. But I got to say, he's been one of our star borrowers. Like I said, he's constantly coming back, almost every 2 weeks with pictures of new things. The water pipes are in. I have a big picture of a crane. Hovering on the street. Supplies come in for the roofing. The floorings are in. The electrical boxes, the AC. You got a temp C of O, so you could use the AC because it's 95 degrees out. So he's been just a great borrower. I haven't regretted saying yes to this deal from day one. And again, I'm glad we did the pre-funding deal, because he was off to the races as soon as we closed on this deal. he didn't have to wait for the crowd to fill up on his deal. So, he was another reason why pre-funding is a great thing.
Absolutely, and I want to make one quick comment too. What is amazing from the investor's point of view, because what we're looking at is what the investor would look like. I mean, it's basically a crowdfunding campaign for a property is what we're looking at. And from an investor's perspective, the transparency in just about every single element here is pretty amazing, because you see all the deal terms. You see the third-party appraisal documents. You see all these other things that Patch of Land did to come to their decision, and they make that 100% available to the investor so that you can do your own due diligence on top of what Patch of Land did, so that you feel absolutely confident that this would be a good investment for you. And so not only do I love that about this platform, because it is something that most people have never been able to gain access to, but in just reviewing these campaigns that are put up here, it's an amazing learning opportunity to teach people about real estate investing and financial literacy. Like, all these deals that are being promoted are good deals, and so you can easily see what the investors are looking for. And if you could bring those type of deals to a platform like Patch, you'll know how to get your deals funded. So that's, again, I just want to make that point, Doug, because I think the transparency here is just phenomenal.
Yeah, and James, I got some kudos to James. He was very well organized, as you can see on the docs there. He had everything that we could possibly ask for. Elevation certificates and elevation plans, foundation. All the plans for the main floor and the mechanicals. He had everything. He was very well organized. He knew. It shows confidence, in his abilities, and it translates to us. Whenever we ask for something, he was on it. He got all the proper insurances that we needed. He needed to get extra insurance because he was out on the keys. He was willing to do whatever it took to get this job done. And again, I got to say, he was a great partner to work with. I'm really happy for him, and I can't wait for him to get the project done and see it to its completion. So it's cool.
Excellent. So anything else you want to add, James, before we move on?
And I guess not really. Doug seems to say everything that I wish I could say, but I'm not, so good on the TV.
Oh, you're doing great, James.
I'm a man of little words.
Actions speak louder than words, as they say.
Yeah, I guess, yes, that's true. I'm not used to being interviewed, I guess.
Excellent. Well, so that is great. And so another thing that is interesting about debt-based crowdfunding, and I saw this firsthand at a conference that I was at, Doug, and you can kind of talk about this too, is that debt, any loan that is made on a real estate asset through Patch of Land is secured as the first position on the property usually, or there's some sort of personal guarantee securing the loan on the property that's being loaned against. As opposed to equity crowdfunding, which is a little bit less secure, of course, because there is no there is legal recourse, but there's no actual recourse or attachment to the property in many instances. So, for the investors here, can you talk about how secure they are when they, when they do make an investment? What level of security do they have in these type of investments?
Well, like you said, we hold a first lien on the properties. We get personal guarantees from our borrowers. They're put into LLCs. The actual borrower is the LLC, and the guarantor is the person or people in the LLCs. And again, we do a full background check on everybody. We do, credit and criminal background checks, and we check bank statements and tax returns, and we do a full underwrite on people. So there's a lot of due diligence on our part, and it's something that we're really proud of, and it's something that we're always improving on to get better at, and improve the process and speed up the process. So we make sure these properties are really well vetted. We get full appraisals, as is and subject to values on most properties. And we show that documentation on the properties. So they're pretty secure. We don't take this lightly at all.
Absolutely, and of course, just like James, who has experience in construction and has done buy and hold investments in the past, you unfortunately cannot just take someone who's never done this before, because that is part of the underwriting criteria. You have the actual deal, you have the borrower's experience and history, and you have the exit strategy. So at this time, someone who hasn't done a deal before probably wouldn't be able to get funding. Is that correct?
That's correct. I mean, as a general rule of thumb, we want to have borrowers that have something like 5 deals in the last 3 years, or some kind of equivalent experience. James had a lot of buy and holds, and he works every day in the field. He's a civil engineer, and he's in construction. So he knows what he's doing. But for the most part, our borrowers have experience. They're not first timers. We've got borrowers that have been in the business and real estate and all facets of real estate for 10, 20, even 30 years. So again, it's not. We put our own skin in the game every time, and our reputation is everything. And part of that reputation is vetting good quality borrowers and projects, and having confidence in the execution of those projects. Again, if a deal doesn't fill up, we still have our skin in the game, and we're willing to go forward with it. So we have to feel comfortable with the borrower as well. So it's not for first timers. It's absolutely not for first timers.
Excellent. And James, from your perspective, you actually received funding during that pre-funding round from Patch of Land. How was the experience? Like, what did you think of it? I know it was your first time trying it, and so what were your impressions? Like, what did you like, and kind of give the audience your perspective on the whole matter.
It was very fluent. Like Doug said, it took less than 10 days, I think. Very methodical underwriting process they have. Every detail has gone over, and very fluent, very professional. Their team there is very knowledgeable, superior knowledge, their whole team, and it was fairly easy. Not too much paperwork to do. So it was a pretty easy process.
And I got to also say, I mean, through the process and even through the length of the project, James has been in contact with me a lot. I mean, anytime he had a question, he knew he could pick up the phone. He was in contact with our chairman, Carlo, all the time. He texts Carlo all the time, and myself. So, our borrowers have access to us, and they have access to the decision makers, and we get to know our borrowers through the process, and because it's about relationship building, like in any business. Again, this is James's first project, and hopefully we've had open lines of communication, and we made this as smooth as possible for him. And we want him coming back with other projects, and we'll welcome him with open arms. It's about relationship building ultimately, we always have our phone's available, and my email. Borrowers, I get to know most of our borrowers really quite well through the process of the underwrite and just vetting the project out first time. And many of these guys have my cell phone number, so they know how to track me down 7 days a week. And I don't mind it, because I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy the people that we work with. Our borrowers, they're intelligent, they're energetic, they're good at what they do. So I'm always open to being available to them. When they have a new deal, or when they have a question on something. I think it's important. It's an important aspect that I take very a strong stance on. I enjoy it.
Great, and then of course with technology, you get to meet your borrowers face to face like tonight.
Yeah,
that's a nice added benefit, I gotta say. I've done a number of these now, and I've gotten to actually get a face to a name, so it's cool. It's really fun.
Excellent.
Even on the job site.
Even on the job site.
Google is now integrating maps with live video, so we're like we're getting a sneak peek into James's world. James, with that said, I mean, is this something that you'd like to do again? Would you refer people to this process? Like, is it? Tell us about that. Would you do this again with Patch of Land?
Most definitely, yes. Most definitely, yes. And I would refer people in my line of work, because they're willing to take a risk. They were willing to take a risk on me, and they've been nothing but supportive of me this whole project, and definitely would refer them to anybody.
Excellent. And I know you're a humble guy. Obviously, there's always risk in any investment, but they probably didn't think it was a big risk on you, because they saw who you are. So you got to give yourself credit, my friend.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I forgot to mention, we met with the planner of the city of Marathon, and this key is called Grassy Key, where the house is located. And the planner pretty much told us that our house is probably the last house that's ever going to be built on Grassy Key, because they just redid the zoning in this area. And he was telling me that you have to have 4 acres contiguous land just to build one single family home now. And so that should also increase the property value, because there'll be no more houses on this key. So basically the land is disappearing here. So
wow. Well, then again, another reason why your wife's decision was a great one.
Yeah, she's very knowledgeable, my wife. Yes.
Great. So we are running out of time. I did a quick sweep, and I don't see any questions that have come through in any of the different venues we have at the moment. But Doug, I guess as kind of as we wind down, maybe you could talk about 2 things really quickly. How can you partner up with people in the real estate community? Are there any programs for, let's say, mortgage brokers or real estate brokers or any other real estate individual who might be referring you deal flow? Is there opportunities to partner? And then also you might want to also mention, can a borrower who doesn't have the level of experience needed to get funded presently with Patch of Land, is there other ways that they can partner with people, or is there any programs that might be rolling out into the future to allow them to actually participate?
Yeah, actually, great questions. Yeah, we do. We have a program that we've just rolled out for broker referrals. We, want to invite the broker community, both realtors and particularly mortgage people, to partner with us. If you have a deal that you can't get funded, give us a call. If you're a mortgage broker, we can compensate you for the referral. We protect you and your client's relationship. It's your relationship. We'll just help facilitate the deal and get it funded for you. I know years ago when I was a loan officer, occasionally I would come across a deal that was not a conventional a loan, that would fit a Fannie or Freddie Mae kind of product, and I didn't have anywhere to go with that. And I felt like one, that I let down the client, and two, it was lost revenue on my part because I couldn't, had nowhere to go. So any mortgage brokers that are out there, if you have a deal that just does not fit, the right pieces of the puzzle, give us a call. Email us, go to our website, submit a deal, and one of our loan officers will contact you immediately and talk to you about the project and get you into our program, so so you can help out your client and make some additional income. Also, we're reaching out to the realtors around the country as well, because they're always looking for a new avenue for financing deals, particularly hard to finance properties that they might have in, either a listing that they have, or maybe a pocket listing that they have that can't get conventional financing because it doesn't have running water, or it doesn't have a kitchen, it's half renovated, it's demolished on the inside, it doesn't fit regular conventional standards, and you can find a borrower for that. We can help you with that. If it's in an area where we have developers relationships, we can send our developer to you and get the property sold, and we'll finance it. So we're always looking for relationships and building those relationships. That's what, again, I go back to that. And it's a big thing that I learned as a loan officer is to develop relationships outside your circles. So and other referral sources of CPAs, accountants, financial planners, things like that. They were great resources for me as a loan officer, and we're reaching out to that community as well, because they are plugged into their communities. They have clients and borrowers who are developing real estate and flipping properties, or they own rental properties and things like that. So one of the big things for us is that the speed of which that we can underwrite a loan and get it closed, compared to conventional financing. So if they need a quick deal to close quickly, we're perfect for that. So we are looking to reach out to those partners out there in the real estate world, and to be a new source of financing for them. We are nationwide. And we have access to the funds to be able to get your deals done. And as far as other people who are just starting out, we get inquiries all the time from our website, and for the people who are new to the industry or have some knowledge but don't really have enough experience, what we suggest is that they find a mentor, contact a local RIA in their area, real estate investment group, become involved, get to know these guys. They're a wealth of information, and they're looking to help partner people with people. So, people who don't have quite enough experience, go find the experience. If you find a great deal, you'll find a great partner. The money will come. Don't feel like you just can't do it. You can do it. You just need to find a good, experienced mentor who's willing to take the time and work with you, and put some skin in the game as well. To help on our part, make us feel secure in the deal that your partner has the experience that's needed in order to get the deal done. So those are that's my 2 cents.
Excellent. And you raise an interesting point for the people who don't have the experience. If I had the time, I would do this. Unfortunately, everyone has a ton of ideas. You have to focus, and you can only do so much. But if I had the time, I can see someone creating a real estate crowdfunding consultancy practice, where you get, you essentially, because the industry is so new, you can actually educate the RIA members on what this source is, and you can get in on a piece of people's deals just because you now become a broker of the funding options. I mean, because what crowdfunding is doing is, the old way of doing syndications is now being rewritten. So technically, you become a syndicator by making the introductions, managing the process, and instilling yourself in the deal that way. So for the bird dogs out there, or for the wholesalers out there who don't have deals under your belt, try to learn as much about crowdfunding as you can. Build relationships with Patch of Land for debt deals, and then of course for equity deals, you can go out to other platforms because Patch of Land only does debt at this time. Is that right, Douglas?
That's correct. Yeah, only debt, no equity. And if I may also interject, one of the other referral sources that we're also looking to reach out to are other private money lenders and hard money lenders. A lot of local guys, they're hyper local and they only have a limited access to funds. We don't want to feel like we're competition with these guys. We want to help partner with these guys. They'll have access to deals and we'll have access to money. So we absolutely want to open up referral business with these local guys. Again, it's all about relationships.
Excellent. And we do have a few questions actually, and I did just answer one of Salvador's questions. He asked, "Are you going to do equity deals?" You just said, nope, you're only debt. Is that right?
That's correct.
Perfect. He also asks, the pre-funding of deals, do you pay the developer all the funds up front, or is it on a disbursement schedule?
It's typically on a disbursement schedule. Some of our lending parameters are on a purchase. We typically will lend up to 80% loan to value with a 65 to 70 ARV, depending on the deal. And then we also look at the loan to cost, and we'll typically go up to about 85% on a loan to cost. So what we'll do is we'll lend 80% of the purchase price and up to 100% of the renovation costs, as long as it stays within those parameters of the 65 to 70 ARV. And then in the disbursement schedule, depending on the size of the renovation budget, we'll typically do draws on that. On average, 3-4 draws maybe. But we're pretty generous with them, and we try to get out of the way of our developers as much as we can, and limit the amount of draws just so they can get to work. We give it in larger chunks. We have an inspector go out there, take a look at the project, make sure the work has been done, and we release more funds. So we really try to. With James, I forget how many draws we did with you. I think it was only 3.
It was 3. Yes.
3, yeah. So, on 140,000, and we had Marie go out. She was the original appraiser, and she actually lives not too far away, so she was very familiar with the project, and she gave great updates and pictures and all that. So, yeah.
Excellent. And actually, it looks like we do have some questions from the incubator as well. We have Tanya. What made you guys decide to only be debt-based crowdfunding versus equity-based crowdfunding?
Well, that was a decision made by our founders, Jason and Brian Fritton and Carla Tabibi. They looked around what hadn't even really flourished yet, the crowdfunding space, and they really felt that debt was the best alternative. And the safest alternative, because we do have first liens and personal guarantees. They're short term as opposed to a long term equity hold on properties. We really saw they saw the niche for debt based, for the short term debt based arena. So they really just wanted to focus on one aspect of real estate and do it really well. So. We've hooked into that and haven't looked back, and it's been a great ride so far. And I don't see us going into equity anytime soon, or for any reason really. It's just a good business model for us, and there's certainly a need for it.
Excellent. And another question: do you have any? I believe you mentioned earlier that you are a nationwide lender. Is there any state that you do not lend to at this time? And are you interested? John Chilton asks, are you interested in the Southport, North Carolina area?
Sure. We're already in North Carolina. We have one of our developers that we've worked with a number of times is in Charlotte, North Carolina. He does a lot of deals in the just outside the NODA district in north of downtown Charlotte. So yeah, we're absolutely Southport is that's out by the Outer Banks, I believe, or in the south corner of it. I go to Wilmington every year, so I'd be happy to come out and take a visit down to Southport as well. So yeah, please. There's a few states that we don't lend in right now. We're currently in 13 states. There's 6 states that we haven't lent, or that we need licenses to lend in, and we don't have licenses yet, and that's Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, Minnesota, and North Dakota. Other than that, it's wide open. We generally don't want to be in rural areas. We typically want to be in suburban, urban areas. Where there's a decent population. So if it is a buy and fix and flip, that there's a population to be able to flip it to. So we generally don't want farmland or rural type areas.
Great. Well, we are over 7 minutes time. I apologize for losing track of time here, but we had some good questions. So I just want to allow both of you to have a couple last words before I close us out this evening. So James, thank you so much for joining us. And do you have any last words for our audience?
Thanks a lot for having me on tonight. And I'm a man of little words. What can I say?
Excellent. Well, James, we wish you the best of luck on finishing up your project. Obviously, you got a great property there, and it's just it's awesome to see you just doing what you love to do, and building wealth for yourself in this manner. So congratulations.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate being on.
You got it. And Doug, any last words for the audience?
Not a whole lot. I think I've said a lot. I would just say invite everybody to come out to the site, patchofland.com, take a look around, see the kind of projects that we've been working on over the last year and a half. We have a resource center, blogs, all that kind of thing. It tells you a lot about our company. You can find out more about our debt raise of $23.5 million. Things are changing here every week. It seems like it's a new company, the way we're growing, and now we're getting into the commercial space, which we're really excited about. We're looking to just move forward and serve as many borrowers as we possibly can. If you have questions, feel free to contact me directly, or you can submit questions to our website. You can submit loans directly through our website. We've got a team of loan officers who are really quick at getting back with our borrowers. Time is of the essence. Feel free to take a look around at the site, and feel free to reach out to me with any questions that you might have of deal scenarios. We'd be happy to help you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Doug. A pleasure as always. I think this is our 3rd or 4th time we've been on together. So each time I learn something new too. So thank you.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
Great. And Salvador, that should have answered your question on how the $23 million will be used. Go to patchofland.com, and they have the press release that really outlines exactly what all the funding will be used for. But really, it is to expand the capabilities of borrowing to expand even further nationwide, and just to really build out and scale their business. So everyone, thank you very much again. We've had a very large audience for this webinar. I want to thank you all for watching this evening. If you do miss this, if you didn't catch this live, we encourage you to go to the Patch of Land blog. There is a replay and a recording of it on the Patch of Land blog, and just go to patchofland.com. You'll be able to access it there. Once again, thank you to our wonderful guests, and I wish you all a wonderful evening. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.